So let's get into some of the controversial stuff over here. And I've got some summary notes from my researcher, which I'll do before we start taking the questions. Okay, so let's do the Taylor Swift PsyOp one first. Got to get some audio on this one. Is Taylor Swift a PsyOp? Share audio tab. All right, so let's just play this over here. Let's get some volume for you. It's just over a minute long, but just have a listen.
Conspiracy theories around Taylor Swift rigging the Super Bowl are swirling. Let me explain. It seems to have started earlier in January with Fox News talking head Jesse Waters floating the idea that the pop star is a government psyop on his show.
Well, around 4 years ago, the Pentagon's Psychological Operations Unit floated turning Taylor Swift into an asset during a NATO meeting.
He then played a clip from this 2019 International Conference on Cyber Conflict to back up his claim.
So I include Taylor Swift in here because she's a fairly influential online person. I don't know if you've heard of her.
However,
how much you want to bet that this gal was one of her big fans?
The woman in the clip shown indeed does not work for the Pentagon, as Fox's Waters said. She was a researcher at Johns Hopkins at the time, and was giving a presentation about how influential people can combat misinformation online. Days after he made the allegation, a Pentagon spokesperson denied the claim, using Taylor Swift lyrics to respond saying, quote, "As for this conspiracy, we're going to shake it off." Swift endorsed Biden in
I mean, they wouldn't admit to it if they were doing it now, would they, right?
2020 and urged her followers to register to vote. This is also being used by many online to inform their conspiracy theories about Taylor Swift. They see her relationship with Kansas City Chiefs star Travis Kelce and the media focus on their relationship as reason to believe she's being used as a psyop to rig the Super Bowl and influence Americans to vote for Joe Biden this November. Then this past Monday, former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy wrote on X, quote,
Now, I'm just going to pause this for a sec because I want to read what Jack Poso wrote in advance to Vivek responding to it. It might be harder to see on the screen. So he says, thinking about when Taylor Swift called out the Soros family in 2019 for buying the rights to her music. We'll get to that in a little bit. And how then she came out super liberal in 2020. Keep in mind, she was completely quiet up until about 2019, 2020 when it came to political opinions, which way she leaned, until Soros bought her entire catalog of music, which we'll get to in another clip in a little bit. But Vivek over here responds, and I'll just let the narrator read it and play it.
Quote, "I wonder who's going to win the Super Bowl next month. And I wonder if there's a major presidential endorsement coming from an artificially culturally propped up couple this fall."
Okay, so that's one of them, and that wasn't as damning as the one that I'm about to play you right now. So let me close this window. And so this is one that was snipped together on Instagram. Yeah. Okay. So let's play this one. This guy, by the way, I don't know who he is. It says The Benny Show. I've never heard of him. Benny Johnson. He sounds a lot like Tucker Carlson, or he sounds like he's trying to mimic the Tucker Carlson way of speaking. But just listen to this one. This one's a little more damning. That's T Swift, Instagram, and share, and play.
That political until George Soros bought all of the rights to her music. This is real.
My entire catalog was sold to Scooter Braun's Ithaca Holdings in a deal that I'm told was funded by the Soros family, 23 Capital, and the Carlyle Group.
Enter Operation Taylor. Travis Kelce was not a big-time celebrity. So suddenly, this dude who, like, I've never heard of, and you've probably never heard of, it becomes the face of Bud Light. That's a little strange choice, isn't it? This premier athlete became the face of Pfizer and the COVID-19 injection.
Travis, did you know you can get this season's COVID-19 shot?
18% of voters say they're more likely or significantly more likely to vote for a candidate endorsed by Taylor Swift. This published today from the New York Times. Predictive programming? Oh yeah. What's happening with Taylor Swift is not organic or natural. It's an op. We all feel it and we all know it.
All right. So there's that. Now, why the hell would George Soros buy her entire catalog of music, and why would she go and start to lean left after that happened overtly? There's a tweet here that she put out. I've got queued up on my screen, and this is from 2020, May 29, 2020. She says, after stoking the fires of white supremacy and racism your entire presidency, you guys decide whether or not Trump was that guy or not. You have the nerve to feign moral superiority before threatening violence. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. We will vote you out in November. And then she tagged @real Donald Trump. Again, very quiet about her opinions prior to that 2019 date when the Soros family bought her entire catalog. So here's what popped up for my researcher. I'm just going to go down these over here on my other screen. It's kind of all over the place, but quick bio. So, I mean, okay, so let's start with Travis, right? Born October 5th, 1989. They're about the same age, by the way. She's also an 89 baby, but December 13th. Apparently he's an excellent tight end. Biggest controversy that could be found on Travis really was dorky tweets about him feeding a squirrel bread. Yes, believe it or not, they made a big stink about that. Or loving IHOP. Apparently these were tweets that he tried to delete or remove from the history. And he also talked about breeder, which I mentioned earlier, looking for mother stock. So, I mean, we'll get to whether or not Taylor Swift's good mother stock in a moment when we get to the red flags. But the feminists hated the whole breeder conversation. He took the knee in 2017 during national anthems. That was just the one time that I was able to find it. It apparently happened more than that, but that's just, the one image that was captured. You guys know what was going on, in those days. It was all protest against Donald Trump and his presidency. And they cooked up all kinds of ideas about him being all kinds of phobics and isms. And, there were athletes that were taken in. You've got this dude, Travis Kelce, who's clearly white. He's not white, woke. He's woke to the sense that he took on sponsorship and marketing money from Bud Light and Pfizer for the vax sponsor deals, which you saw the commercials on earlier. If you aren't familiar and have been sleeping under a rock, Bud Light was a company that in a recent past had hired trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney, who's walking around calling himself a girl, but he still calls himself Dylan. Anyway, Bud Light took him on, and that was a colossal train wreck. They lost a whole shit ton of market share. Their target demographic stopped buying the beer. And I guess they tried to correct that by paying Travis Kelce a whole ton of money to be their spokesperson. And also, Pfizer did the same thing to encourage people to go get the experimental jab. His net worth is $30 million. So let's go to Taylor's, which is a lot more colorful. Let's do her net worth first. So she's worth $1.1 billion. That is a massive amount of money more than what Kelce's worth. To put that in perspective, Travis Kelce is worth only 2.7% of Taylor Swift's net worth. It's a very, very small amount. When it comes to the notion of women and men and pair bonding over a long term, it's been said many, many times that women have a strong preference to mate across and up on the socioeconomic scale. In this case, Travis would be down in the socioeconomic scale, which isn't a strong predictor of a good long-term relationship or marriage. But that being said, the chick's worth $1.1 billion. There's not a lot of available guys in that space that she's going to be interested in dating. Because, of course, she's got to manage the optics of who she's dating, because she's a performer, she's a musician. All of the guys from her past are quote unquote famous and noteworthy, and generally around her age, in some cases a little bit younger. She's dated younger as well. But it's unlikely that a chick worth $1.1 billion that's also 34 is going to take on a 50-year-old guy, right? That's not in her character or based on her past character. And again, the best predictor of somebody's future is going to be their past behavior. So that's what I'm looking at here. Born December 13th, 89, written songs professionally at age 14, 200 million records sold, highest grossing female touring act ever, most streamed woman on Spotify and Apple Music, Forbes World's 100 most powerful women. Swift is a philanthropist and an advocate for artists' rights and women's empowerment, including abortion rights. She's on terrible terms with most of her exes, with the exception of Taylor Lautner, who she dated back in 2009, who apparently she's still friends with. Didn't see anything about her and him connecting very often publicly. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Albums, I'm not going to read them. Boring as shit. There's a whole bunch of them. There's 14 here. She's been putting out albums since 2006. Started out as a country music performer. NFL draft, Travis, let's see, catching touchdown, both wins. But whatever, you can get that off of Wikipedia. President Biden's reelection team apparently was seeking Swift's endorsement in 2020. And the way that she's setting up for this election cycle, it looks like that the team's already working on that right now. The Super Bowl is more important than anything political as it stands. So any opinions she has right now are going to be sidelined with the importance of the Super Bowl. It's got to be the most watched event on TV on a yearly basis in the United States. So you can expect snippets of her to show up. I don't know if she's performing. I don't know if they've announced who's performing. But there's going to be lots of scenes of her popping up. So this is a prediction. I'm just predicting this. I'm not saying it's happened, but I think if you watch the Super Bowl, I'm not interested. You'll probably see lots of highlights, the camera swinging. Oh, there's Taylor in the stands. There's Taylor, cheering on Travis. Oh, here's Taylor again, sort of thing. So expect that. We talked about her September her Instagram post, encouraging at that time 272 million followers to register to vote. That post led to more than 35,000 new registrations on the nonpartisan nonprofit vote.org site. 6 in 10 U.S. adults called themselves at least a casual fan of the singer, with 8% saying they're raving fans. Pop culture, people identify with this stuff. They pay attention to it, and it's what moves politics now. It's attention and identity. This is a professor at Montclair State University whose research includes the intersection of politics and pop culture. I don't think there's any question as to whether or not an influential person that makes overt statements to a captive audience can sway opinion. People are sheep. We saw what happened during the scamdemic several years ago. They say jump. Vast majority of people said how high. They said stand on dots, no problem. Wear 2 masks. How about 3? Take 2 jabs. How about 4? Sort of thing. People like a ruler. They like to be led. So in the absence of leading themselves, which most people don't, they're going to turn to pop culture. And in this case, she's a very, very, very influential person. I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here. And pinned down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.